we'll figure it out.
Yeah, that's fine. It would be good to get. I haven't mentioned it to him yet, but it'd be good to get AJ.
Yeah,
involved with that one. That'd be fun.
I'll mention it to Braden as well to see if he's allowed to. I don't know what his contract is now.
Yeah.
David said he would do it if we twisted his arm, and he's my husband now, so I can do that.
I'm twisting his arm. Tell him.
Okay, yeah. So we'll get David on, and if Braden can't, or I might actually ask him anyway. One of my former students writes for Athlon now.
Okay.
And he also, and he's an older student because he'd come back to school. But he also hosts the ESPN3 calls at MTSU.
Nice.
He graduated, so he's like the play-by-play guy for ESPN3 for middle games. But he's really funny. Like he would fit into that mix quite nicely.
Cool.
The whole being sarcastic thing. So if Braden's out, or even if Braden's in, I might shoot Jake an email because I think he would think that was pretty cool to do that. So
that'd be awesome. Are you ready?
Sure. Two of these games would be really fun to talk about, and the other two, I have like one note.
That's sort of I have I'm pretty much not going to say anything about the SEC title game because what do you need to say?
Right.
I have things to say about the other games. But yeah, we're just gonna kind of jump right into those, and that's
Clemson's
ready.
number 3, right?
Yes. And
Clemson's
the ranking
3, Washington's 4.
The rankings that I wrote down are I'm still stubbornly hanging on to AP, the latest AP rankings. So
okay.
And
so Michigan is 5.
Yep.
Wisconsin is 6. Penn State is 7 in the playoff. Okay.
Yes.
Cool.
And right there and there and there. Okay. Yeah, and we're going to touch very briefly, as in very briefly on the group of 5 team and the Big 12.
Okay.
But you'll see. But we're not even going to discuss them. You'll see how this is going to go. All right.
Okay.
I'm all set. You set?
Yep.
We are set. And now that we're set, we will go in 3, 2. Howdy, boys and girls. I have no idea what week this is. There's only one thing. If you don't need to talk about numbers, you just need to talk about the fact that it's championship week. Carla, happy championship week.
Happy championship week to you too. Yay, it's here.
It is here. It's weird because I was thinking about this. Again, we're taping this on a Wednesday night as we have for most of the season. And November is awesome because most nights of the week you can turn on one of the ESPNs and find a college football game. And we're down. So this is kind of the ultimate week when the stuff really matters in conference championships. But it's also a little sad because, I found a replay of Grambling and Southern, and I was actually watching that before I came up here to tape this. That's how desperate I am. Yeah.
It's always a sad point when you're right. It's like, because it's exciting because it's championship week, and at the same time, it's like, oh, but no football.
Right.
No action. It's just like the things you get used to in the fall. Like here we are at the end of the season again already, and where'd the season go? But here we are.
Here we are with wrapping up stuff with championship week, and a couple more shows after that, which we'll touch on as we wrap things up here tonight. But of course, we've got championships to talk about. First, a couple things that I want to make sure we touch on, so no one can accuse us of giving anybody short shrift. Looking at the AAC and MAC title games, Carla, do you and I agree that Western Michigan, an 18.5-point favorite, will beat My Ohio University Bobcats in the MAC title game and win the Group of 5 berth to the New Year's Bowls?
I agree. Yes,
okay.
Western Michigan will win the MAC.
Yeah.
Hope they get the berth to the group of 5.
I think that would keep them ahead of Navy, even if Navy wins the AAC title game, and unless something outrageous happens. But I think that's how that sort of sets up, and I think that's how that would go. And then the Big 12, of course, does not have an official title game. They have a de facto one, masquerading as the Bedlam game between Oklahoma and Oklahoma State. Carla, do you and I agree that the Bedlam game, while possibly entertaining as hell, will not have any impact on the playoff Final Four?
Yes, I agree. At this point in the season, yes.
Okay, so that's. I'm not saying don't watch that one. It actually really would be a fun game to get into. But
it's at a time that nothing else is happening, so that's a great time slot. Watch Bedlam. That's gonna be a heck of a game.
So what the hell? Go watch. And then we'll start with the games that we're actually going to discuss. That is the remaining Big Four power conferences. Those start on Friday night. If for some reason you don't want to watch the Mid-American Conference title game between Western Michigan and Mile High University Bobcats, you could, in fact, watch number 9 Colorado versus number 4 Washington from Levi Stadium in Santa Clara, California. Washington is a 7-point favorite in that game. What do you think?
I think this is, out of all the games, I think there are 2 games that I'm really like, ooh, these are going to be fabulous games. This is one of them. And this has been kind of the Cinderella story for both of these teams. And if you just love college football, you hate the fact that one of these teams has to lose this game. Mm-hmm. Big Browning for Washington has a lot to play for in this game. Not only is this team sitting at number 4, assuming that if they have an impressive performance here in the Pac-12 title game, that they will punch their ticket to the playoff. Yep. Unless chaos happens, I think that's the rightful play here. I also think Browning is playing for a spot in New York at the Heisman ceremony. I think
I'd agree.
It's an interesting thing here, because I think everybody kind of thought that Lamar Jackson had it all sewn up, and then they went out and lost last week. And so now all of a sudden I think you see a gap there. And if you get, Browning's a very impressive quarterback, number 3 passer in the country. With a team that's potentially poised to go to the playoff, that's a really enticing Heisman case for a lot of people. So I think this is kind of this could have multiple plays here for Washington and Browning. Colorado is the team that you just really want to get behind. It's just this is complete Cinderella story season. McIntyre's done a heck of a job there coaching this year. This was completely out of the blue. Defense is really, really good here for the Buffaloes, but they also have not faced an offense like this Washington offense. But as I say that, it was a good defense that stopped the Huskies from USC, that handed them their only loss of the year. So is it impossible for Colorado to beat the Huskies? No, absolutely not. If they are able to disrupt them enough, I think this could be a very, very entertaining game. The problem is that if Colorado can't stop them, their offense can't keep up. Right. The Colorado offense is not as nearly as prolific as Washington's. They're averaging 10 points per game fewer. So the key here is Colorado's defense stopping the Washington offense. If they can't slow them down, this is going to be a Washington win. But like I said, this is going to be a very, very good football game and definitely worth watching on Friday night.
Okay. It is such a cool story. And for both of these teams, Washington was ranked 14th in the AP's preseason poll. Colorado was not ranked at all. This is kind of a. I know when everyone looked at the Pac-12 at the beginning of the season. I know when I looked at the Pac-12 at the beginning of the season, I saw a playoff berth for Stanford and a Heisman Trophy for Christian McCaffrey, and I was really, really wrong about both of those things. But that's what
everybody was wrong. Everybody was wrong in Colorado.
Yes. And that's what makes this fun. Colorado. You mentioned Colorado's defense, which has been lights out, especially the pass defense. They've had a great quarterback play with a guy who's been there, whose name I cannot pronounce. But he's been there for 6 or 7 years, the starting quarterback each of those years. And really, he is the guy who singularly makes Colorado's offense go. I think the 2 games that the Buffaloes lost this season, he was injured or limited in one fashion or another. So that's kind of how they got to this spot. it looks to me, I would give, even with that experience at quarterback, I would give Washington's offense a pretty good edge over Colorado's if you look at these teams head to head. The defenses, Washington's defense is actually is very, very good, and maybe you give Colorado a slight edge, and again, particularly in pass defense, where they're averaging like teams playing against them are averaging like 4 yards or 5 yards a reception. It's something ridiculous. If so, you have that kind of strength on strength matchup. I think Washington's strength is I give that a slight edge over Colorado's strength. And as you said, I mean, if Colorado is able to limit what Washington can do when Huskies have the ball, then they got a shot. Washington's only a 7-point favorite in this, and that sounds about right to me.
The interesting thing here, next factor, is you got to think about Colorado coming into this game. They're really playing with nothing to lose in this game. I mean, they're going to come in extremely loose, because what's the worst thing that could happen to them? A Rose Bowl berth.
Yeah.
Like, if they lose this game, they're still likely going to punch a ticket to the Rose Bowl. So, it's one of those things, like, they can throw everything out there. They're going to be incredibly loose. Washington could come into this game tight, knowing that they're sitting at number 4 and they've got to impress to get into the playoffs. So, yeah, there's some interesting dynamic stuff here that could be a lot of fun. I'm still with you. I still think Washington wins.
I see Washington winning this, but and you make a great point. A really good day with Colorado's defense. A little pucker factor on the part of the Huskies, knowing that a stumble knocks them out of the playoff, and that easily could go the other way. We start on Saturday. In the Georgia Dome in Atlanta, the SEC coronation game. This is a number 1 Alabama versus some other team. Who were they playing? They were Florida. I think it was Florida. Alabama's a ridiculous 24-point favorite. You go first.
Yeah, I don't have much to say about this game either. I did the math. I added up Florida's offensive, I guess you would call it, production, over the last 5 games, and they've only been averaging 15.4 points per game in the last 5 games. And the Florida defense has been decimated by injuries. It's been a problem. They're going to be playing their backup quarterback, Appleby. The battle of the ex-Purdue quarterbacks continues. So Appleby will be starting under center. Del Rio is still hurt. Yeah, I saw Gator fans on Twitter last week offering up Alabama to anybody that wanted to play them. Would you like Bama? I don't even need to say anything about Alabama. Roll Tide.
Yeah. I mean, I don't want to be dismissive of a conference title game, but I'm going to be dismissive of a conference title game. Florida should be happy they got here. I think they're already set up to play a Big Ten team in the Outback Bowl. There you go. Alabama is just ready to make this official and move on to the thing that Alabama really is playing for. Following that game on Saturday, and I'm betting you could probably turn away from that one a little bit early, we go to Camping World Stadium. God, that is the worst name ever. In Orlando, Florida. I think that we used to call it the Citrus Bowl, I believe. For the ACC title game, this is number 3 Clemson versus number 19 Virginia Tech. Clemson is a 10-point favorite. I would love to have a psychologist's opinion about what Clemson does going into this game, but we're going to start with you, Carla. What do you think?
Yeah, that's a great point. That's one of the few notes that I put about this game, because again, this is another really huge mismatch, right? But when you realize that the team that is the heavy favorite walking into this game is Clemson, there's a bit of a pucker factor here. I get that, right? It's Clemson, here you go. You're sitting at number 3. Don't screw this up, right? That's really what you have to worry about in this game if you're a Tigers fan. Because stranger things have happened, right? You look back just a couple of weeks, and they went to overtime against an NC State team that went 6-6. And the only reason that game went to overtime is because NC State missed a game-winning field goal as time expired.
Should have been a loss.
It should have been a loss. Yeah, absolutely, it should have been a loss. And so here we are sitting here again. You dismiss Virginia Tech. just because, 8-3 or whatever. And, it's like, okay, whatever, this is going to be an easy win. It's Clemson. Don't wave them off quite so quickly. Do I think the Tigers will win? Yes, I think the Tigers will win. I think if you're a Clemson fan, you want them to come out to a huge lead early and be able to enjoy the win as opposed to something that is close. But the Hokies, I mean, we haven't talked about them all season. This is a very unexpected spot for them to be in as well. They've got a first-year head coach in Justin Fuente, who was, the hot hire, pun intended, the hot hire last year coming out of Memphis over to Virginia Tech, replacing Beamer, who retired. Kudos to them for making it to a championship game this quickly. I mean, that's a heck of a season for them, and they're going to have a great bowl game regardless. So, again, the same situation as Pac-12, right? This is a Virginia Tech team's got nothing to lose. I mean, they're not good. If they win the ACC title game, they're not going to go to the playoff. They're still going to go to a good bowl game. So this is just a matter of bowl positioning for them. Clemson's playing for the playoffs. So I think you'll see a Hokies team really loose. The Clemson team could be tight. It'll be interesting, but no, Clemson's the better team here.
Clemson. I mean, I've read this more than once this season that Clemson could be the one team that could come close to matching Alabama in terms of talent. So I think there's no question that Clemson belongs in the Final Four as one of the playoff teams. I mean, Deshaun Watson is experienced and cool and has. This year has done a really nice job of kind of running the offense as opposed to being the more athletic quarterback and taking off and running at a first opportunity. But they still have this kind of tendency to not focus in games when maybe they think they don't need to. And I wonder, you're looking, you go into this and you're thinking Clemson and, Louisville looked good going into the season. Obviously, Florida State is always going to be there. And you end up with Virginia Tech, a 3-loss Virginia Tech team as your opponent in the ACC title game. Tech's had a solid year. The loss to Syracuse was a little mysterious, maybe. But the other, I mean, it's they play Georgia. They play the Virginia Tech defense, which is a good thing. And it's possible. I think it's possible that the Tigers could come into this and think, maybe we don't really need to pay attention to a 3-loss team that we're playing. I'm sure Dabo Swinney is warning this team against that, but I'm sure he did the same thing when they played Pitt or when they played NC State. Yeah, I mean, you got to the only sane pick here is to pick the Tigers. But if there's a 5% chance or a 10% chance of Clemsoning, that's still a chance. And I think that's a very real thing going into that game. So we'll have to see what that one looks like. If that's still close in the second half, make sure you're paying attention because that could be really interesting. We wrap up Saturday in lovely downtown Indianapolis at Lucas Oil Stadium, where the Big Ten championship will be decided between number 6 Wisconsin and number 8 Penn State. Wisconsin is only a 2.5-point favorite. Ooh, what do you think?
Well, I'm going to get on my soapbox really quickly here because I do this every year for the last 5 years. Big Ten, play this game outdoors. Okay. Now that I've gotten that off my chest. I
knew I could count on you.
Play the game outdoors.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
Anyhow, of course, I've got some ties to this game here. So, I think out of the 4 big championship games this week, I think this is the one that you can legitimately call a coin flip. I really feel that way with both of these teams. I think both teams are playing really, really well right now. Wisconsin coming in, yes, they're ranked 1 higher. There's a little bit of a concern because Alex Hornibrook had a concussion last week in their final game of the year, but apparently he's already that be a concern, which is good if you care about the game because it's one of those things that like you would hate to have a Big Ten title game and not have everybody have their cards on the table. So even as a Penn State fan, I'm happy that Hornibrook is playing because I want to see both of these teams go head to head.
Sure.
The thing that scares me a little bit about Penn State is that for whatever reason they've taken in the fact that they tend to lay an egg in the first half and play their better game in the second half. And I think that's a really dangerous thing against this Wisconsin team, because their defense is so good. And whether or not the offense will have the opportunity, we saw it last week against Michigan State. They started slowly. Yes, they had the lead at the half, but they started very slowly and didn't pour it on until the second half. I'm not sure they'll have that same opportunity if they've come and are not playing well in the first half in the second half of this game. The other thing to worry about here is, obviously I was at home, so I watched the entirety of the Penn State-Michigan State game. And the thing that you worry about there is we still don't understand completely what the injury is to Saquon Barkley. And that's huge. If his that's going to change the complexity of the game completely. It looked like he would be okay to go, other than the fact that his own teammates stomped on his foot on the sidelines. I don't know if anybody else saw that. He had his shoe off and it was bandaged up, and one of his teammates stepped on his foot. I'm like,
no.
Yeah, it was one of those really? So yeah, hope he's good to go. We still don't know for sure. Penn State defense has a big task in stopping Corey Clement. If he gets rolling, that's going to cause some issues. This is two really, really evenly matched teams here. Of course, I'm going to pick Penn State because why wouldn't I pick Penn State here? But and this is the Twitter debate that we've been having for a long time is, what happens with the winner of this game? And, everybody's talking about that Michigan sitting ahead of them. With the winner of this game potentially have the opportunity to leapfrog Michigan and have a chance at a playoff. I think if 8 wins this game, the answer is no. I just don't think there's any way the committee overlooks 49-10. They just can't. I think if Wisconsin wins this game, then yes, I think there's a bit of a chance that we're going to have that conversation. I still think Wisconsin's strength of schedule is way, way, way better than Penn State's, unfortunately. But hey, I'll take my trip to the Rose Bowl. And that's what's fun about this game is because we're not sure if the winner of this game will get to the playoff. So
Right.
They are still kind of playing for a Rose Bowl berth here, which is fantastic. I mean, that's what the Big Ten title game should be all about. But of course, I'm going to pick my Nittany Lions because I'm a homer, and I will willingly admit that because I've not seen Penn State in a Big Ten title game ever. So here we are, and so yeah, go Nits, and but we'll see how it all shakes out in Indianapolis. It'll be a good one.
Okay. I'm going to be a little bit skeptical about Wisconsin the way I was a little bit skeptical about Michigan as we got in towards the end of the season. And it's not that the Wisconsin didn't have the toughest schedule in the conference. I think they did. But I'm not sure there's a whole lot of difference between if I'm just looking at these two teams. There's a whole lot of difference. Maybe you can say that Wisconsin's losses are better than Penn State's losses, if that's a thing. But even Penn State's losses. I mean, Pitt's in the top 25 now. So that maybe that game doesn't look. To an outside observer like me, maybe that game doesn't look as rough as it did when it happened in September. I think Penn State can win this game. Saquon Barkley, check this afternoon. He says he's going to be ready to play. So take that for what it's worth. Trace McSorley has improved as much as any quarterback in the conference has over the course of the season. I think Penn State, you can say without question, Penn State is the team that has improved more than any other team in the conference over the course of the season. And that improvement unfortunately started when they got their starting linebackers back against Ohio State. That's when, well, it's true. That's when that defense really started playing like a Penn State defense. The offense has gotten better and better and better. And then you look at Wisconsin and they played Michigan tough. Yes. They took Ohio State to overtime at home. Yes. Is LSU the win that everybody thought it was at the beginning of the season? Maybe not. I don't know if I'm setting all this up just to be a contrarian, or if I really, really think this is that Penn State has an edge here. But I think Penn State might have an edge here. In a 2.5 point, as a 2.5 point favorite, with a 2.5 point spread, I think it's absolutely worth picking Penn State to win this game. Maybe that if Barkley can't go, then maybe that's maybe this different situation. But I really like Penn State's offense. Penn State's defense has been solid since halfway through the year, and I think they can win this game, and I'm going to pick them to do it. How's that?
Nice. Yeah, there you go. I'll take it. No, it's interesting, with Penn State fans, obviously they are really playing for a trip to the Rose Bowl.
Yes.
But it's been interesting to kind of see that all that debate happening and how it's all going to play out. But yeah, it's a game that, and had they not lost 49-10 to Michigan, I think they'd be right in this conversation. But I just don't like. I mean, it's too big. It's the margin there is too big. I still think Wisconsin's losses are better. And we saw Wisconsin beat a Nebraska team that, on the road, I believe, right? That game was on the road. I can't remember either. They both wore red. It's hard to remember. But
all the red teams just sort of run together.
All the red teams just kind of go together. But no, we saw them beat a Nebraska team that was, leading the division at that point. So yeah, this is. And the best part is the rights to the Big Ten or the Big Ten title game, which means that yes, I'm going to not only see my Nittany Lions in the playoff or in the championship game for the first time ever. I'm probably going to have Gus on the call.
Probably.
So
yes.
That's like dream scenario.
Well, we will see how that goes, and we will see what the committee does on Sunday afternoon. If Big Ten gets one or two, if Clemson can hold off Clemsoning, all kinds of fun stuff like that. But that's for another show, guys. We will have a couple more. We will do our now traditional holiday Bowl-a-Palooza specials. That will be coming up sometime in mid-December as the bowl games start to get rolling. And then I imagine at some point you and I will have to talk about the playoff when we get down to that point as well.
Playoff? Sorry.
I'm going to have to find that picture of Jim Moore. So, guys, it has been an awesome regular season. It's going to be an awesome championship week, and we still have a whole month of bowl games to go. Thank you very much for staying with us through this whole time. Carla, thank you.
Yep, thanks as always. Look forward to the games this weekend.
Oh, man, it's going to be fun. Thanks again, guys. We'll talk to you again soon. Okay.
And out. The worst part is I think this whole thing's going to be really anticlimactic.
So, yeah.
Because I think it's going to go chalk this weekend, and the whole playoff thing is going to be really anticlimactic, and it's going to stay as is, and that's going to be your playoff.
That could be. I mean, if everyone wins, if it goes the way.
Yeah. If Washington wins and Clemson wins, we're done. Like.
Yeah.
Because I think even if Alabama.
I don't know. Clemson could. But they would really have to be not paying attention. The best opportunity is probably Colorado over Washington.
And then the conversation gets interesting. Like, if Colorado beats Washington, then you've got a really interesting conversation between Michigan and depending on who wins the Big Ten.
But do you want to put a team that lost 2 of its last 3 games in the playoff?
Right. Exactly. That's what I mean. Like, do you put Michigan in, or do you put your Big Ten title game winner in? And like I said, I think that you make the better case with Wisconsin, but Yeah, it'll be interesting.
See, I could do the one. I could do the one, and I could see either one going over Michigan just for that reason. I mean, both whoever wins the title game will have won, 6 or 7 in a row to finish the year. And that's worth something. And Paul was posting stuff today about Michigan, asking that question. Lose 2 of your last 3. Are you one of the best teams in the country?
Yeah.
It's still a lot of fun. We will what? Where are you?
Hi, Charlie.
I don't know where he is. He just yelled at me from somewhere. Where are you, kid? I don't know where he went. We will